it's Helen for YouFit Studio. That's me. And it's Friday. And this Friday, I've not got stuff, right? You'll be pleased to know there are no chocolate bars. There's no chocolate spread. Can you see the theme on a Friday where my head was going? There is nothing here for you to see today. I apologise. It will return once I take the stains off the already existing situation of bringing food into a Facebook Live. And what happens when you do that? Yeah, some of the stains will never come out. Anyway, moving on. So today's live, honestly, today's live is about taking a journey as a couple. Now, clearly, well, not clearly, I think most people would jump to the conclusion I'll be talking about husband and wife, wife and wife, husband and husband, whatever your combo. There'll be somebody talking about a relationship that is somehow based on intimacy. And whilst I am, to a degree, I'm also talking about, when I'm talking about this is what I see or have seen in my experience is when I say taking a couple, I mean anybody within your class, you're close as well, your close circle. Hey, Jags. So when I'm talking about that, I'm not talking just your significant other. Excuse me, your significant other. I'm also talking about siblings, friends are always a good one. Any kind of relative, really, to be fair, as well as your significant other. Get my teeth in. So when two people are starting out a journey together, generally this is what I'm referring to in this situation. So I'll keep referring back to that to make sure when I'm making points or observations or solutions to some degree, that this isn't just about one type of relationship. This is any relationship where you come to the start point at the same time, which actually is very common, is what I would say. It's very common because if we've ever run any challenges, friends will join us on the challenge together. If we have a membership, generally speaking, one will join as a couple, and then very soon after, their partner may join, but very soon after, relatively soon. Or if it's friends kind of joining together as full members, also seen that. Yeah, I've seen it all in my time. And regardless of the relationship or how they know each other, I have observed to one degree or another I'll not give it a percentage, majority we'll say majority to be accurately vague. A majority of situations there is a similar outcome, in as much as the outcome I'm about to describe is what happens when people start a journey together. So they do start together, which is great. And generally speaking, they both start at relatively, on most cases, I say majority vague, most cases at the same place, right? They're both motivated, they're both focused on health, maybe in slightly different ways, but they're both in the same position, right, where they're wanting to go. They're ready. They're kind of there like, we're going to be a little team, we're going to support each other. We're a little group, we're a little posse. If you're down, I'll pick you up. If you're down, I'll pick you up. Yeah, we're going to work. Yeah, we work together. It's going to be brilliant. Now, if any of you are watching these lives, you'll know that this might be part of the change cycle, right? So both parties start in the same place, right? So both people, whether relatives, friends, significant others, both are starting in the same place, which is generally highly motivated, ready to take action, ready to do the action, actually doing it, right? Members in, they have their induction, they're on classes, evaluation's done, they know what they're doing with the food, like, yeah, we got this, we're a team, this is brilliant. And then the fun begins, right? Now, if I'm going to do anything right now, the best thing for me to do is to recap the change cycle to start with, which if you're not familiar with, it's all right, you'll get the gist. And as you're listening to this or watching this, you can probably think about different times this happens to you as well. So both parties right now are in action phase. It's great, right? Everything's a go-go. So this is probably like, what, the third or fourth stage in? First stage being pre-contemplation. Haven't got a flaming clue what I'm doing with my health. Not even bothered. Contemplation. I'm starting to weigh up if I need to do something. Planning. I'm going to pick up the phone and, well, I'm going to think about picking up the phone and ringing Bav and getting myself booked in. Then action. Wow, I'm booked in, I'm doing it. And then maintenance, right? So these two people are about to go into maintenance straight off the bat. They've gone through the part of the change cycle together, probably, or one a bit before the other, but they're in that point together, right? They're in it as a team. They're like, yeah, we're in action. We're going to maintain. We're on it. Now, for those of you who are familiar with this, you'll know the next stage is the stage that most people don't want to get to, except they always do in some stage or another. Every single person does, is the relapse stage. Now, as a couple, oh well, let me rephrase that. As people, we will all deal with the change cycle in different ways and, more importantly, at different speeds, right? So you have two people, whatever the relationship, starting at the same place in action and maintenance. That does not mean they will stay in the same space of the change cycle at the same time, right? So you appreciate. One might be like, gunning. I am so black and white about everything as a personality that I am either doing something or I am not. And I'm planning to do this now for the next 3 months, and that is it. And the other person might be like, do you know what? I don't know. They seem to really, this is the undertone of this. They're really getting on this, and it's not getting knackered to this now. I kind of feel like I don't want to take a back seat, right? So what's happening is that two individuals are going through the same process. We have an intruder. Hello. Can't see who the intruder is. You might hear her. It's Labrador. She's learned how to open the door, which is very useful. Thanks, babe. Right. Wish you could see what's going on down here. Right, so I'm going to deal with the change cycle because I've just been interrupted. However, both parties will deal with it at a different speed and different pace. So that means that one party will go through it faster, potentially, and hit relapse faster. Now, if you're a part of a team or a collective team and starting together, this is where the real challenge begins. Because you got, let's just say person A. Person A has hit relapse, right? So person A no longer feels, and they'll use the word, I'm no longer motivated, I don't fancy training, I fancy eating quite a lot. Person B's on it like a car bonnet. Person B's like, what is going on, person A? We're in this together. We are part of a team. What is happening? Come on. Person A starts to feel guilty, feels like they're dragging person B down. And actually, what can happen is that actually they can grow further apart. So as they're trying to actually go through the change cycle together, what's happening is they're growing further apart through the journey. Now, that gets harder and harder because if any of you have been through this stage, so when it comes to health and fitness, you'll know that that stage of the journey is really tricky. To be in relapse and to go back to the stage where you're attempting to go through the whole process again can be any period of time. This is the most tricky thing about both maintenance and relapse. Both of them are an unknown period of time. You may find yourself as person A in relapse from anything from a week to a month to 6 months. I've seen clients sit there for a year before, but where they're not actually, they cannot get themselves back into that change cycle where their compadre, the mate B, has been sitting in maintenance for exactly the same amount of time. So you can see where this can become a real challenge if you're doing something as a journey as a couple, any relationship type, because it stands to reason if you consider that person A is completely back almost in pre-contemplation, not considering if health is important, that their health and potentially their weight is not going in the direction they want entirely. And person B is actually getting everything that they want because they're staying in maintenance. Now, don't get me wrong, person B may hit a bit of relapse because they're going to be drawn into it with person A. However, they may go quickly back around the cycle and back into maintenance and find themselves still on their journey. Now, this is where being in a couple is always going to take that divide at some point. Now, when those two people move apart, it becomes essential for there to be, this is a resolution. And as a coach, I've done so many times. I've done this with Sam, if we have one client and they have the other, or if they're both my clients, I've had them in the room together. Sometimes if you're in this position, right, if you're at a couple of some description or a partnership of some description, where one of you is getting results and not in the relapse zone, right, and one is, it's very, very difficult to have that conversation, right? So whilst I've brokered the conversation, it's always quite interesting. Actually, the reality is that when we're having those conversations, the actually outcome for me as a coach is to help both parties to understand that it is their own journey. Now, why so often both people stay in maintenance and one in relapse is that actually they're both kind of waiting for the other to do something. Like, why aren't you joining me here and eating this food with me that we ate before? Why are you not staying at home instead of going to the gym? Person B is going, why are you going and doing that? Please come. And you see, actually, while trying to help each other, what they're really doing is keeping each other in the same position. So the most important point I'm making of this is that for anybody, if you're in this situation, to appreciate the journey is solely yours, and it always was to some degree. Now, whether or not you started together doesn't mean that you will go through the whole process together, get the same results together, go through the same emotions, go through the same stages of change at the same time. That will, in my experience, has to date never happened, right? I'm looking up because I'm thinking, is that a truth? No, it's never happened. And if any of you existing clients have ever started this journey with somebody and not with them currently on their journey, you would absolutely fundamentally know why and recognize some of what I'm describing and why it's happened. Now, you can always, and the language is important, the way I say is, you may always want to try and pull someone along with you if you're a person B who is steam training it away and sees all the positives and is going through it. You always try to bring them along with you. Right? It does not work, because what you have to appreciate is, as we go through the change cycle again, that person who is relapsing is not ready to reevaluate the importance of changing. Whilst you may actually be like, you know what, there is no going back, it's only going forward. I still see importance, I still see value, so I'm going to do it. You cannot help or force your other half, whoever they may be, to join you in the same space. So ultimately, whoever I work with, wherever they've started with someone, ultimately my goal as a coach is to help them to understand, not to leave them behind, to let them do their own work on themselves and find their own way out of the stage they're at and move forward. It's important for you as an individual, if you are on a journey of health and fitness, that it is yours. It is yours. It's not a shared experience. You want it to be a shared experience. I would love it to be a shared experience with all the bells and whistles and rainbows and kittens and unicorns. It is not a shared experience. It is always an individual journey, right? You cannot have the success as a couple of friends, a couple of romance, a couple of relatives, parents and kids even. It is always your own and your own, only exclusively. And that is the best way for anybody in this situation to appreciate and move forward. Because actually, again, if you are waiting on somebody to join you, you'll be waiting a long time, right? And if you're hoping to change on your own and looking to that person to help you do that, you'll be waiting a long time, because only you can do that as well. So I want to make that clear. It's not just about that person who's doing well just keeps doing well and leaves them behind. Actually, if I'm working with that client who's in relapse, is exactly that. We've got to work on reasons why. We've got to work on what you're aiming for, what is your leverage, whatever it is, right? It's important that you do that for yourself, on your own, with your coach, as much as the person getting the result does that on their own with their own coach's support. So, yeah, that's the thing. It's never as what's the word? It's never as glossy as you would hope it would want to be, right? You always want to do something as a couple, and it never quite comes out there. Hey, Nazreen, by the way. So yeah, bear that in mind, Kate, when you and Dave in the pub next week. That's what I'm saying. One of you is going to make a decision to change that. Okay, let's recap. So I was talking about taking journeys as a couple, right? Any relationship it is, right? And just think about what we've talked about. If you're a friend as well, that's equally as awkward, right? I think it's potentially, when I've seen it happen, it's even more awkward than when it's a significant other. At least with a significant other, you can probably have a row about it. When it's a really close friend, that can get tricky, right? So, hey, Sean. So it's talking about if you're starting the journey of fitness together as a couple, or of any relationship, how the impact you can have on each other when different parties are different places in the journey or different stages of change, right? So it talked about when people start, it's generally roughly within a close time frame of each other of usually the person that joins first is flying still. Right, it's person A actually, funny enough, usually. Person A has already started, right, and is flying. Person B will join, going, yeah, I want to get aboard on this. This is really good. Yeah, join me. Yeah, party. We'll do this together. Yeah. And then, something happens and we go through, like, again, to recap the change cycle. Person A goes into relapse, right? Person B continues loving life, still getting result, maintaining, right? Relapse person A is struggling, right? Because that is what's meant to happen, right? Both people will go through a relapse at some point, just at different speeds and at different times, even though you don't want it to, because you'll always be different people with different personalities, right? Make that clear as a part of the part of the recap, right? So the result is the person that hits the skids first, hits the relapse. They may stay there for weeks, months, right? Well, person B is still flying, go, well, I joined you on this journey. Why have you gone off the picture? I'm here, right? Person A is like, well, you're in my party now. I didn't want you here in the first. Oh, it can go all kinds of places, right? And actually, the result is actually it pushes the two parties apart, because rather than where they wanted to be a journey together, they're actually now at different stages of the journey, even though starting at relatively the same time, right? And part of that, and I'll say it again, is to accept that you are on your own journey with your own outcomes and your own challenges. And as much as you want the other person to help you, and you may look to them for help, or even ask yourself, why is I'm struggling and they are not? It's for exactly that. You are a different person with different challenges, different emotional drives, and different motivations. Therefore, it stands to reason that you will hit the change cycle as individuals, as we all will, at different times. Now, the main focus is to get around the change cycle and come back to maintenance. And to do that, the person who hits it first has really got to start to evaluate what it is, right? And stop looking to person B going, why the heck are you getting on so well? And start to look within yourself and say, okay, well, what is it that took me to act in the first place? What took me through to pick up the phone and ask to Bav to book me in, right? What got me to the point of booking in my sessions, going to boot camp, getting on the bike, wherever it was, doing a walk, right? Wherever it was, what got me to that point to start, so I can get back round and join my buddy back in maintenance, right? Because it's your own, I was going to use a swear word, so your own stuff to sort out, right? So joining as a couple or working as a couple, right? A couple of whatevers. Like I said, could be awkward when it's friends. I think that is always awkward. Whew, those conversations, awkward. All right. Back on Monday, because I am in the area of the camp tomorrow. The boot camp. I just say it like I'm Canadian now because I feel like that's what it is. A boot. I'm in the boot camp. A boot. Monday though, I'm going back on shoulda, coulda, woulda, because I heard that a lot recently in the last couple of weeks. So enjoy your weekend, guys. And if you are coming to the park, I will see you there, and you will hear me there. I will have some vocal calls on me tomorrow. Until we meet again, see you all later.